Coming out of India, the Creo Mark has turned quite a few heads. It's one of the few smartphones made by an Indian manufacturer that features a somewhat customized skin on top of Android, even though it's still fairly stock Android-ish. How does the Creo Mark stack up at about $300 US? Let's find out in the full review. What's up everybody, this is Alex from Android Headlines, and this is the Creo Mark video review. When it comes to the hardware of the Creo Mark things look a bit familiar, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The Mark looks a whole lot like the OnePlus X and even the Amazon Fire Phone, given that it has a glass front and back along with a metal frame. The Mark does have a few unique characteristics as far as design is concerned. On the right side, Creo has three individual buttons. We have the volume rocker, which are actual buttons instead of a volume rocker, along with the power button. They're all round buttons which gives the phone a pretty unique look. The earpiece on the front also consists of three circular cutouts, and below the display are three capacitive buttons that are also circles. Now Creo has opted to use circles for their buttons because they can be customized. This way you don't use the back button as the menu button and vice versa. Back is glass and gives the Creo Mark a premium look and feel. There are a few downsides here. Now since this is only available in black, the back is definitely going to be a fingerprint magnet. Additionally, since the back is flat, there's no protruding camera nor any dimples on the back at all. The Mark does have the tendency to slide off of tables and desks. Fortunately, the glass isn't that fragile, as it has slid off of my desk onto the floor a few times but hasn't been scratched or cracked at all. As you probably noticed, the Mark is quite a thick smartphone, coming in at about 8.7mm. It's thicker than even the Galaxy S7 and Galaxy S7 Edge, which both got thicker this year with a larger battery. When holding the Mark you can definitely tell that this is a thicker smartphone than most others on the market. I wouldn't say it's uncomfortable to hold, but it is a much different feeling in the hand. Now having said that, the Mark has only a 3100 mAh battery inside, which given how thick the device is, and with a 5.5-inch display, I think they could have squeezed in a larger battery, at least 3600 mAh or more. Speaking of the battery life isn't all that great here on the Mark Now with a 3100 mAh battery and a 5.5-inch Quad HD display, we expected about average battery life, and that's basically what we got here. Now the Mark does perform very well on standby, but when you're actually using the phone, the battery life suffers quite a bit more than you'd expect. Now our users consist of apps like Snapchat, YouTube, Netflix, Instagram, Twitter, email, Hangouts, and playing Stack. We were able to get around 3 hours on screen time usually, but that was when we were really pushing the device to get as much out of it as we could. The battery life definitely isn't good enough for those power users out there, which is a bit unfortunate. Now the software here is really what's going to set the Mark apart from the other competitors, especially in India. The Mark is one of the very few smartphones made in India that sports a slightly customized skin on top of Android 5.1.1 Lollipop. Creo calls their skin Fuel OS, and for the most part it is stock Android with a few extras added on top. Now it's similar to what Motorola has done with their smartphones in recent years. On top of having a slightly customized skin, Creo is also promising monthly updates. Now where this phone did come out just last month, it's tough to say if they will keep that promise, but we can say that we did get an update out of the box and we got a second one during the review process, so it does look pretty likely. With this running Android 5.1.1, we can't actually tell whether this has the May 2016 security update or not, or even which update it's sitting on right now. Hopefully we'll see an upgrade to Android 6.0 Marshmallow pretty soon, which will add that feature. Now as we stated already, software is pretty familiar for anyone that has used a stock Android device, although one of the more popular features here is Echo. Basically this acts as a voicemail for you. It's integrated into the Do Not Disturb settings, and you can set it to automatically take all of your incoming calls. Now a pretty interesting feature with Echo is meeting mode. Now this is labeled as beta, so take that as you may, but it reads your Google Calendar to see when you're in a meeting and will automatically engage Echo to take all your calls during that time. And we also have Sense. Now this feature isn't very unique per se. Now basically what it does is when you double tap the home button, you can open up Sense and do calculations within the search bar, send WhatsApp messages to contacts from Sense, and even add new contacts. It's a lot like the Spotlight search that you find on macOS. Now as mentioned, this is Android 5.1.1 Lollipop. There's no word on when Android 6.0 Marshmallow or even Android N, which is a bit further down the road, will be available for the Mark I. Hopefully Creo does push it out fairly soon though. Now the camera here on the Creo Mark I is a bit underwhelming. Now on paper the camera looks like it will be pretty good. It's sporting the Sony IMX230 sensor, which is a 21 megapixel sensor, and it's been included in a ton of other smartphones. The camera can shoot 4K video along with a f2.0 aperture, which is basically expected in this day and age with smartphones. The camera can get some good shots, but the camera doesn't get good shots consistently. There are times where objects are blown out, even outside in direct sunlight. There are also times where there's a ton of noise in the picture, but then if you take the picture again, there's no noise at all. So it's a pretty hit or miss camera, which is pretty unfortunate to say the least. We expect that software can help with this, seeing as the same sensor has been used on numerous other flagship smartphones, and has had much better results. Now there isn't a manual of professional mode available with this camera, which is also a bit disappointing, especially where that has become a staple with most smartphones recently. The number of modes here is quite limiting, with just quick photo, panorama, live photo, and 3D photo. Now we would like to see a few more modes included, like macro, selfie, which we mean something other than just flipping the camera to the front facing camera, as well as sport, and of course a manual mode. As far as pricing goes, it's priced at about $300 US. Now for that market, that's not a cheap smartphone. India is still considered an emerging market, and a lot of their smartphones are around 150 or lower that tend to do pretty well. So it's tough to say whether this smartphone is going to be an overwhelming success or not, especially with these specs. However, it is a good phone, it's just not a great phone. The Creo Mark 1 is Creo's first smartphone and is currently only available in India. We may see it come to other markets. However, the company has not announced any plans to do so just yet. And that's the Creo Mark 1. It was definitely an interesting experience reviewing this smartphone, and we're excited to see what the company does in the near future with their upcoming smartphones. In the meantime, be sure to like this video and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.